So I sort of have a personal rule, which is everything you do, especially the really crappy moments, step up and execute at 100%. Just put everything into it. Because in my life, it's always been the worst gigs and the crappiest moments where I showed up and went for it anyway that led to some of the most important things that have ever happened to me. I'll give you 3. First, 2000, what was it? 1999, I think. Yeah. Man, my memory just went wrong on that one. I was on tour with the band, and a promoter booked us a show in Dallas. Now, in Dallas, there was this awesome club, historic, called The Door. It was in Deep Ellum. And all the cool kids played there. I even saw, like, jars of clay there. There's a throwback for you. And it was just a really cool club. Now, we weren't cool enough to play The Door at the time. We got booked at the club called Next Door, which happened to be next to The Door, and owned by the same people. It's a little smaller. It could only hold like 300 people, maybe 250. And a little problem happened. We showed up all the way from California on our way through touring, heading to Louisiana, and the promoter didn't tell anybody we were playing. They didn't put up any posters. They didn't email anybody. They didn't announce it in their small groups or at a church or at a community center. Nothing. It was on the club's website. That was all. And so what do you think happened? Nobody showed up because there was 2 problems. 1, they didn't promote it. And 2, they didn't check the schedule. They booked us on the same night as the Warped Tour was at The Door, right next door, sharing a wall. And so here we are playing this sort of like moody Brit rock kind of vibe with some quiet songs, and next to us is like while the Warped Tour just like rocks the crap out of 1,000 people who showed up. There was a line of people around the block twice to get into the Warped Tour venue, all walking right past our open door, and everyone not even bothering to look in. They're just like holding their skateboards and looking to see if somebody cool went by. It was one of the more embarrassing gig moments I've ever had. We played that, so we get up there, it comes time to start, it's like 8 o'clock, you can hear the noise next door, what are we gonna do? We decided, you know what, screw it, we're here, we don't have anywhere to go, we're gonna just sit in the hotel. So we told the sound guy, crank it up, we're gonna play the show like this is packed to the gills and there are people like crowd surfing. And we went for it and played the most amazing show for the sound guy and his girlfriend. That was it. But 2 things happened. 1, that was early days of our sound guy dating the woman who would now become his wife, and I'd like to think we helped contributed. And 2, we gained a lot of insight into playing with feeling when there's nothing to feel from the room. And that paid dividends to me in my music career over and over and over. Finding the enthusiasm and the energy in your performance from within instead of relying on your environment to feed you just saved my butt over and over. Second one was in 2010, my band played a show, totally different band. 2010 played a show in, Shell Beach, actually Avila Beach, California, called Mr. Rick's, which is part of the 5 cities in San Luis Obispo area. And that was one of our favorite clubs to play. We loved Mr. Rick's. It was cool. This night, really poor showing. Not a lot of people, not a lot of energy. We were playing same thing. We just went, you know what, screw it. Let's kick the doors down. And so for like 20 of our friends, we kicked the doors down on that club. About months, like 3 months later, we're sitting in a band meeting, and I get a phone call. I get a phone call, and my friend says, hey, you don't know me, but I own the club Mr. Rick's. And I was at that show you guys played at my place 3 months back, and I know there wasn't anybody there, but you guys were awesome. my friend does all the booking for Aerosmith, and we need an opening band for Aerosmith at the Paso Robles State Fair. Do you guys want to do it? And I said, hang on, let me check a schedule. Yeah, absolutely, sure. And that led to a gig I'm going to tell you about on the next video, where we opened for Aerosmith to like over 10,000 people plus and 3 giant jumbo screens. It was the coolest, one of the coolest gigs I've ever played in my life. And we only happened to us because we didn't mope and quit and bail, and we played our butts off at a gig in Avila Beach. And I'm gonna tell you the third story in just a second. First, Dickel. So, here's the funny thing about these releases. I saw it on the shelf and I was like, oh, someone is having a good time. Because there's a rule, this is the Dickel Bourbon, right? 8-year-old. Now, if you don't know about this, on the internet, in the whiskey world, there's a nonstop war that everyone is always fighting about whether or not Tennessee whiskey is bourbon. And the answer is yes. It can be bourbon according to the federal laws. And yes, it's Tennessee whiskey according to the state laws. So which is it? And the answer is yes. But there are some people argue, nope, it's specifically Tennessee. It separates itself from bourbon with the Lincoln County process, which was charcoal filtering. And some people say, screw you, just because you filter with some charcoal doesn't make it not bourbon. Bourbon's about the mash bill. And the war goes on and on and on. And for their career, as long as we've really known them, not for, in modern history anyway, Dickel has been Tennessee whiskey. They're famous for it. It's Jack Daniels, it's George Dickel, that's Tennessee whiskey, that's the big players, right? Well, now, entering the argument, Dickel releases bourbon. Now, does Dickel go, we don't charcoal filter this? And that's why it's bourbon, not Tennessee, in which case they might solve the argument forever? No, they charcoal filter it. No one knows exactly what makes this different. Or at least I can't find anywhere. I would love for someone to tell us in the comments, why is this not Tennessee whiskey? It's charcoal filtered. That's the Lincoln County process. Why is that not Tennessee whiskey? Bourbon, Dickel just threw gloves. Just struck a match and threw it into the internet tender. Now, what does it smell like? It smells like Dickel. It's a little more of the, like, banana is the wrong word, but there's a little bit more of the caramel and a little more of that sort of like smoky tannin. It's a little softer on the sort of, what do you call the, like Flintstone vitamin kind of chalky note that often shows up for me in the nose in Dickel. It's still there. Still smells like Dickel. If I was A-Bing this with another one, I'd maybe have a hard time. And it tastes just like nice, gentle, soft, smooth, one might say. Because that charcoal filtering, I think, just sort of simplifies and softens the edges of things, just like all chill filtering often does. Sort of ends with a slight sweetness and a little bit of caramel. Slight bitterness. Coming back to the nose, the chalk is more forward and the tannins are more forward. It's nice. Unremarkable, but good. I don't dislike Dickel. Some of it gets really chalky in the nose, and I can't do that. But this one I would say is like, yeah, that's good. If I had that at a bar, or if I was at a wedding and they're like, well, we got Dickel, I'd be like, sure, bring it on. I drink that, be happy. I'm gonna add just a dash of water to it. It's 45%. Oh, nice, all right. And then we'll see if just a little bit of water does anything at all. And late, let's say, I don't know, 2011 or 12. I don't know what year it was, but it was after 2009, because that's when I moved back to Texas. My brother-in-law's brother got married. And at the rehearsal dinner was held at a pizza joint in South Austin that I won't name, but I think they've actually gone out of business now. And it was upstairs in their private, big, huge room. And it was all these like long oak wooden like bench tables and bench seats kind of, but indoors. and look like really long picnic tables. And I arrive a little bit late because we were helping tear down some chairs at the rehearsal or set up some things at the rehearsal. We get there, and my brother-in-law, I don't know. Brother-in-law's brother. Does that make him also my brother-in-law? I feel like it does. He and his soon-to-be bride are there, and all their families are there, and I can feel their stress in the room. Like, you walk in and you just feel the negative energy. And I sit down next to my sister, and she goes, oh, man. They gave this private party group of like 50 people one waitress, and she's brand new, and she has no idea what she's doing, and she's freaking out, and now the bride and to-be and the groom-to-be are getting really uncomfortable, like, crap, this is not great. Our guests are all here. Everyone's sitting around. It's been 15 minutes. We haven't even had a drink order taken because we're pretty sure she's crying in a back room somewhere. It was just a chaos. And so I had noticed when I walked up to the top of the stairs that there was a soda machine and an iced tea and water setup in an alcove at the top of the stairs. So I see this young woman sort of frantically running to a table and trying to get people to listen to her. And then she comes running back, and that's one of like 10 tables. And I go back to the water station, which also happens to be a kiosk for entering orders, and I say, hey, it looks like you're super overwhelmed. Would you be willing to let me go around and take alcohol orders and fill non-alcohol orders for drinks? And you can refocus on food, and then when I come back, I'll let you enter all the alcohol into the system, and I'll keep tab of all the sodas. And she was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. She says, you don't have to keep tabs on the sodas because that's part of the party package. You just have to give me the drinks. And so I said, give me a waiter tab or a waitress tab. And so she gave me a tablet, and I went around and I numbered the tables 1 through 10 on a piece of paper. And then I went around and shouted everybody down, and I took all the orders and I grabbed 4 people, and we started fulfilling drink orders. I just started tearing off tabs. I started doing beer. I numbered them. I brought them back. Within 15 minutes, we had drinks, beers. Everybody was settled, and she was halfway through the room on pizza and food orders. And so I switched to taking pizza orders, and I finished out all and just handed her, here's your stack of 5. They're numbered by table, ready, go. And then I went and sat down and ate. It took what would have been complete chaos for who knows hour plus before anyone even got to talk about food to we were done in 20 minutes, and food started showing up 5 minutes after that. It's the kind of thing that I tend to do in situations like that. Step in and go, screw it, something needs to happen here, I'm gonna do it. Here's the thing I didn't know, and this is what makes this story interesting instead of just look at how great I am. One of the people in that room was Rex Williams. And 2 years later, he calls me on my phone and says, hey, you don't know me, but my dad's running a business school in South Austin called Wizard Academy, and I think you should be the guy to run it. And one of the reasons was because that was one of the moments Rex had seen me go into action, and he thought, this is the kind of guy we want leading Wizard Academy. I should tell my dad about him. And that's one of the reasons I ended up at Wizard Academy, because I grabbed a tablet and I took some food orders. So get out there. No matter how weird and crappy the situation is, step in, take charge, make it happen. You never know where it will lead. I'm really glad you're here. Cheers.